Okay, this is a story about when I was first in Colorado. John invited all his friends to come to Colorado. He went to university for 1 year, and everybody else was working. Some people were working, some guys were working. They're getting married. Some guys were still in school. Everybody had their own lives happening back in Michigan. Mine was, perhaps I told you, 2 years in one university, quit that, worked one job at a company, a factory for a year. Then I went back to college and got my degree, and then went to work at a couple of places and quit all. And just didn't like the, we call it in Japan, the salaryman life. So I went to Colorado on John's invitation. Actually, oh, here's the story. One day John called. We talked. He was in Colorado. I was in Michigan. And we talked. There was one girl. He said, John said, here, talk to this girl. I forgot her name, but she was from Texas, without a doubt. She had this Texas accent, and she was really a lively young lady. We talked on the phone. We were going to get married or something. We couldn't wait to meet each other. And we did eventually there in Colorado with that other young lady. Oh, I forgot her name. I met her in Hawaii afterwards. Anyway, so John invited everybody to come to Colorado, and I did go because I just couldn't stay anymore in Michigan and I wasn't getting married. I couldn't do the salaryman thing. So moved to Colorado, and John asked me after a couple of days there. We were living in the same place in a house with like 5 bedrooms in it. This huge house, these big glass windows. It's like we're in the Rocky Mountains now, okay? It's like a lodge, basically. And John was a river raft guide. So he would drive a truck, which had the river raft on the back, and the truck would carry the passengers, 5 or 6 guests, who of course paid money for this river raft tour. John was a man at 13 years old, I dare say. And I was at that time 25 or 6. I still wasn't a man. So one time John said, lower the raft, bring the trailer, back it into the ramp, into the river, so we can load the raft on the ramp. And I tried my best. I just couldn't back that thing up. You know, you turn the wheel one way, and the trailer goes the opposite way, which is normal. But if you're not used to that, or if you don't know what you are doing, which is what was happening with me, you can't get it in the water. And John realized that pretty quickly. I wasn't going to help him on the river rafting tours. So he got me a job through a friend at a construction company. They were digging up some land to build houses, I'm assuming. And if you've ever been to the Rocky Mountains, you know why they call them the Rocky Mountains? Because they're full of rocks. And digging holes in the Rocky Mountains is not easy work. But before I finish that story, there was a computer place. There was a little building. They had 2 computers, and anyone could come for free at any time and use the computers. So I thought, well, maybe if I can sharpen up my computer skills, I might find a job that way. I tried that twice, and that was the last time I ever touched a computer until I got to Japan 40 years later. So, but that's not a big deal. I think it was 20 years later. Anyway, so back to the construction job. I'm working there, I'm trying to work there, I'm working there. They hired me, and I called in sick one Monday. Maybe it was the second week I was working there. I called in sick on a Monday morning. The next day, Tuesday, I went to work, and that was cool. He didn't say anything. 2 weeks later, another Monday, of course, on Sunday night, was out drinking, got drunk as a skunk, and called the guy up and said, I can't come in today. I'm sick. He said, okay. So the next day, Tuesday, I went to work and he said, we don't need you anymore. Here's your pay and your, please sign here. So I signed it and walked out the door kind of dumbfounded, and I don't have a job anymore. So I worked some other jobs. I worked as a waiter, somewhat dishwasher, nothing too high tech. And the one job I got there in Colorado was at the Gant, G-A-N-T, the Gant. I was a Gantman. And I applied for that job, and I must have had a license. I can't remember if I had a Colorado driver's license, because I'm pretty sure I drove the van. Maybe I just worked in the hotel with the guests, but I was a Gantman. What I would do was, from our place in Snowmass, where we lived, by the Roaring Fork River, I would drive into town and go to the Gant. And I think it was on season. It was just getting started, snow season. And I would drive in the Filth Brothers truck to the Gant and park nearby, or maybe even the Gant parking lot. And I would sleep in the back of the truck, so I wouldn't have to drive in the morning. And I was usually drunk too at that time. So in the morning I wake up groggy, as I usually was. And one time I went to the toilet. As soon as I got in, I couldn't wait. I had the runs, and I unloaded in that toilet, which was next to the office, which was a mistake. I should have found a different place because I just left a terrible smell in there. That was disgusting. And one guy went in there after me, and he came out gagging. He said, you really should eat more fruit. And I said, you think that'll help? He said, yeah. I never ate fruit. I ate the hamburgers and cheeseburgers and drank a lot of beer and whiskey and whatever. Not a very healthy lifestyle, but I survived that. One time at the Gant, they had for the employees one early morning. I think it was a Sunday morning, and the employees came and they let us play tennis on the tennis courts. And me, being my typical loudmouth self, a few times, when the ball went out, when we were playing tennis, I would yell, out! And the second time I did that, the tennis instructor said, look, there's people sleeping in the hotels. You can't be yelling like that. I said, I got it. Okay. And there were other times when I was on duty, you had to patrol at night around the grounds. And we had keys to the rooms. So occasionally I would go in a room and crash and smoke some pot, I'm sure. Yep, I was a Gantman. But my biggest achievement there at the Gant Hotel was I waxed one of the Gant trucks. I don't know why I did that. I think they offered, to anybody, they would pay you $50 extra if you would wax the truck. And $50, that was pretty good money. That was, a long time ago. I waxed the truck, and I was declared Gantman of the Month. Okay? And at the front of the hotel, where you enter where the guests would enter, there was a plaque with a board. They would put the Gantman of the Month picture on there. And there was my picture. I was a Gantman of the Month. And John used to always tease me, I guess. So sometimes when we meet, he would sing that song. Let's see if you know this. It goes da 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 Gantman. Do you know what that song's from? If you do, you're pretty old. Thank you for listening.